Every single day, people take unwanted or unused items to thrift and antique stores across the country. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and we're here to prove it. Identify valuable things before you throw them away. Join us as we show and tell of treasures found and sold by a full-time reseller with the hopes of helping you find some treasures of your own. Welcome to the What's Sold podcast.
She maybe, but she doesn't listen, so whatever.
Okay,
we could be right out there. Anyway, Matt, we're talking about what we sold this week. I know we've been talking about the market and lots of other things and answering questions, but what'd you sell this week? So transitioning into that, we're going to be talking about what you're selling.
Yeah. Well, this ring sold, I'm going to hold it up. It is a pretty large, I mean, we're talking 8 or 10 carat citrine, which is kind of like an orangish, yellowish color. Citrine is actually a type of quartz. It's a quartzite, and it's kind of this interesting soft orange color. But this ring is interesting. It's very small. First of all, it can't even go up past halfway up my pinky finger. It's probably a size 3 to 4, so super small. And you can't exactly probably see it real well, but it's like an oval ring, and around the edge of it, all the way around that main stone, is in this elaborate enamel paint job, an Art Deco look. So lots of straight lines and sort of this design. It's got green and black. It's a white gold, a 10 karat white gold filigree ring, but the prongs, which are actually superficial prongs, because this is set in a round bezel. So it's a round bezel that's actually holding the stone in place, but it also has these, and it's just for looks, these 4 prongs, and the prongs are in yellow gold. So it's 14 karat yellow gold superficial prongs, enamel paint on 10 karat white filigree gold. So it's a unique ring. This sold for $225. I don't know if it is actually from the 20s, like a genuine Art Deco piece, or if this is sort of a revival piece that was made in the same type of design. But it looks the part. So somebody liked the look of that. I doubt they're buying it to wear, or maybe they're going to have it sized. When you're sizing, or when you ask someone, go to a jeweler to have a ring sized, if you're sizing it up, they cut the band at the very bottom, which should be at the bottom part of your finger, and then they get whatever same carat and color of gold, and they cut off a little piece that's roughly the same width, and then they solder it together, and then they buff it out. A lot of times, if you buy a ring and you look on the inside, look at the bottom part, whether it has a stone or not. Look at the bottom, and if you see, usually there's remnants unless they've done a really good job. Because most people don't care because it's on the inside. It's touching their finger. No one's going to see it, but you'll be able to tell. If they're sizing it down, they cut it, not exactly in the center, but they'll cut a little to the left, a little to the right on the bottom, and they'll just remove that piece, bend it back down, solder it, and then they'll put it on a metal mandrel so that they get it back to a perfectly round shape. So there's just a little something for you there in the jewelry world.
No, it was funny when you said that. I was thinking about how do they resize rings. I was like, I have giant meat paws, as my daughter calls them. So for every ring I've ever had, I've had to get
were you size 25 ring band? What are you?
I don't know, but I do know I have some of the biggest hands. I just have massive hands.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. And
serial killer hands, in a way.
Well, let's hope not, Matt. I mean, I have been working on my van with tinted windows, but yeah. This is a family show, Matt.
Fair enough. Here's another thing that I sold. This is a statue. It is sitting on a round wooden base, and it is a sculpture of a woman. It's kind of like a fantasy sort of look. It's a woman who's wearing a blue dress with kind of different colors. It's kind of tight-fitting. It's sort of a yesteryear design, not exactly Victorian, but kind of in the teens.
Like the 20s almost.
Something like that. And then the way that it's got like this big swooping, almost looks like from a distance, like a crescent moon shape. And at the top is a star. And she's just holding onto it. She's got a hair beret with a star in it. But this is by an artist named Giuseppe Armani. And this particular one is called Comet. So he has various ones that he's created. This is probably one of those things where you sketch out an idea and then you bring that to life through the sculpture. It's in good condition. There's no flaws. It is signed. It is stamped. It's from 1998, and it's a limited edition piece that's numbered, not unlike a print would be numbered.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there's a dash and then another number. And the second number is the number total that were made. And the first number is what number this particular one is. So in this case, this is number 3,425 out of 5,000. If you're ever looking at prints or works of art that are numbered, you should know that the collectability of ones that are the lowest number possible. So if it's a 1 out of 50 or a 1 out of 1,000, that's likely going to be the most valuable one of all of them because it was the very first one. And I think that with things like sculptures like this was essentially poured into a mold, this type, I believe, poured into a mold and then painted and glazed after the fact. But I think the idea of the numbering system came from when people did etchings or engravings where they were like block print pieces of art, meaning it was carved into or it was into a copper plate originally, or some kind of metal plate, or then later on some kind of like linoleum block or something, or wood. And then you roll on ink and you press it down on a paper. Because the way that these are created, particularly etchings that are in plastic or in metal, the more you do it, there's damage essentially to it every time you press it. So if you imagine like these little burrs that you're scratching into a plate, they're going to be most able to accept the ink and these grooves and on the burrs and things for the first few. So it stands to reason that the first one's going to be the clearest, the best copy of it, whereas subsequent ones are worse. Now, metal plates, you can do thousands typically on those, but they have more contemporary ones made out of plastic and stuff, and those, 20, 50 or less, because it's a softer medium, the plastic is softer, and it can get damaged with fewer uses. So there you go. Again, kind of went down the rabbit hole on that one. But this sold for $240. I had it up for more than that. I am selling this for one of the people I'm consigning for, and they inherited it from a parent of theirs, and they had something like 12 of them, varying sizes, all by the same artist. I tried at first to sell them all together because, man, I didn't want to have to go through the work of doing all of them individually, but it wouldn't sell, so I did end up having to do that. And since I've done that, I've sold about 4 of them in the last week and a half. So I'm hoping that if that pace continues, I'll have them all sold.
It's really cool.
Next week,
it's a really cool item. I
it's
love
beautiful.
The art piece.
It's definitely this kind, like I said, it's kind of this flowy. It's got definitely Art Nouveau sort of feel to it because it's curvy and flowing, and it's feminine.
If you were a decorator, it could look like tchotchke if it was just surrounded by a lot of other tchotchke.
Oh, of course. Yep.
But if it was like up on a shelf by itself, it's just
stand
really
alone.
a beautiful piece.
It's a standalone
Exactly.
piece as well. Yeah, it could be either. I agree with that. So that was a fun thing to sell. I have the next thing I'm going to show you was a surprise this morning. I woke up to find that it sold last night, and it is a vintage Gibson guitar. This is I'll hold it back so you can kind of see the size of the body. It's what they would call a tobacco burst. So it's sort of a very dark on the edges of the top, and it gets lighter as it goes towards the middle of the top by the bridge and the strings. This is a 1958 Gibson LG2 3/4. So what that means, 58, so it's a vintage piece. Gibson, highly respected, perhaps the most respected or one of the most collected brands of musical instruments. The LG2 is a model that was created, I think that they made them maybe even as early as the 30s, but it may have started in the 40s. And they have different models, LGOs, 1s, 2s, and 3s. They were smaller bodied instruments typically, and they were more for women and students originally. So that was their target market because they're easier to hold and play, they're smaller bodied. This one is an unusual bird. There weren't a ton of these. It's a 3/4 instrument. So unlike the other LG models or LOOs that are smaller body, almost getting down to parlor size guitars, this is actually 3/4 size of a typical guitar. So it's a very small body, and it's a shorter neck here. And it would actually be fine for like a child or someone smaller to play. The nut width is really narrow, so it's hard to kind of play. Sounds really good fingerstyle. All that to say, sold it for $1,850. I have had it for a couple of months. I got a pretty. I didn't make a ton of money on this, maybe $300 or $400. Not a big deal, but I saw it locally. I could put my hands on it. I'd never had one before. I knew I could make a little bit on it. And
Well, you got to play a chord or two on it.
Oh,
so we
I mean,
can hear
it's not going to sound well. Here, I don't know if you can hear. I'll just strum. It's not even in tune very well, honestly. It's yeah, it's got a nice sound to it, and I don't know. I hope that the person buying it realizes that it is a 3/4 size. If they've done their research, they'll know. But these are fairly collectible because you don't see them a whole lot. In fact, at any given time, you're only going to find one, maybe two for sale on eBay. Whereas if you just look up, Remington pocket knife, there are thousands, for example.
Put 3/4? Do you put the size on the thing?
I did. It's
on the
important
listing?
to have that because that denotes that there is a size difference. Because there is a regular LG2. In fact, I have a 1947 Gibson LG2 as one of my own personal guitars, and it's a small body, but it is larger than this, and it is a full-size guitar. So I was happy to sell that because, and I'm going to spend just a moment to show you another one. This came in last week. It is also a Gibson guitar, but this is a very special guitar. What I'm holding up right now is a 1931 L1 flat top guitar. So the L1 flat top guitar was made between 1930 and 1931. And by flat, I say flat top. I say flat top because they made other L1 instruments, but the top was bowed out. So it was convex, and it had a floating bridge like a violin does. So instead of it being glued down and attached, it sits upright, and usually the strings are attached to a metal tailpiece at the lower bout, and then they come and hang over the bridge. The reason that's important is that the style of music on those, you really can't play those real hard. You feel like you have to be careful with them. That was made, a lot of people did jazz music on them, more finger-style stuff. But rare instrument because they don't know exactly, but they estimate that between only 1,000 and 1,200 of this model were ever made. Now, 1930, 1931. This was a 31. Over the last 95, 96, however many years ago that this was made, if only 1,000 or 1,200 were made, a large number of those have completely fallen apart. People drop them, snap the headstock off of them. Something breaks on it. And they pitch it, or major work has been done on them, original parts are replaced, all of those things devalue them. A big deal at certain periods of time was to refinish guitars, so sand off the original finish. That can take anywhere from 40 to 70% of the value of the instrument away from it if you refinish an instrument. So anyone out there who's thinking about refinishing a vintage instrument, don't, because you're going to wipe away at least half of its value by doing that. This has all original components, and it plays well. It has had a lot of cracks repaired, but even with that, this is about a $6,000 to $7,000 guitar.
Wow.
And I traded a Martin 0018 from the mid-'60s, plus a little bit of cash to get this. I'm very happy. This is something I'll enjoy playing, but will be an investment. Now, it is for sale, because if somebody's going to say, yeah, I'll give you $7,000, sure, I'll probably part with it. Because, again, even though there are some things I love and I want to use, I'm not attached to things, really. It's just, it's a thing. It's a fun thing.
You didn't name that guitar and give it a soul, is what you're saying.
Correct.
It's not like B.B. King's
yet.
Lucille.
No, but the other thing that's really special about this guitar is that if you've ever heard of Robert Johnson, who's considered sort of the king of the Delta blues, who lived in the 20s and, he died in, I think, 39.
Made a deal with the devil, I believe, Matt.
Yes, at the ripe old age of 27. That man, so as the story goes, he was walking down a road, and at a crossroads, he met the devil, and he sold his soul to the devil in order to play the guitar better than any other person. He was a heavy influence on Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and so on for his blues work. But he unfortunately died at a really young age. Even though he died at 27, he was married twice, and his first wife in the first year died, and the baby she was pregnant died in childbirth as well. So it's very sad. And then they aren't 100% sure, but they believe that he died from drinking whiskey that someone had poisoned, because he was at some place playing music, and I think he was maybe paying some attention to a lady or someone they believe that maybe that woman's boyfriend or husband or someone got upset and poisoned him. So this was his guitar. There are only 2 known photographs.
Wait, that's his actual guitar?
No. This is the same model,
Okay.
right? He had a 19... there are only 2 photographs that we know to exist of him. One, he's sitting in a studio holding an instrument. The other one, he's in a photo booth, which is another reason why I love this, because I'm a photo booth enthusiast. He's holding a guitar in both one of those photos. He's holding the same chord, like with his fingers, even though it's in different places on the guitar. But he had a 1921 L1. And so this model is infamous for, or is very well known for being a guitar. Historians don't necessarily believe that he owned this guitar. They think that it was given to him as a prop to use in that studio. He played a Kalamazoo and he played a Stella guitar. We don't have to get into all the details, but
I love it. Community guitar enthusiasts are like, tell me more, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he does amazing stuff. That's blues is the sort of early origins of blues as we know it. So I was excited to get that guitar. It's highly collectible for collectors. This is one of the things I can play on, and it will continue to go up in value. And so at some point in time, I could sell it if I decide I want to sell it and pay for one of my kids a year of college, then I can do that. So it's nice to have some fun guitar stuff. And I have another one coming in today that I have to do some repair work on. So I'll have to show you that on a future episode, and we'll talk about what I'm going to do.
Have you ever heard of the 27s?
Yeah, with like rockers and things.
Yeah,
a lot
all
of
these people that die
between
at 27
and
years old.
29.
Graham
a lot
Parsons,
Yeah, Kurt Cobain.
The list is like 50 people long. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison.
All these people the guy from Blind
Melon.
Melon. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
27 years old. I'm glad I made it past there.
Yeah, Janis Joplin was one. I think.
Janis Joplin, exactly.
I know. Yeah, it's sad. It is very sad. I don't know how old Buddy Holly was when he died in that plane crash. He was young as well. He was probably younger than that, actually.
Yeah. All right. What else do you have, Matt?
So I don't have it in my hand, but another gold ring sold. I sold a lot of gold lately because, as we've discussed recently, gold and silver have been really high. Now, I've seen silver drop down recently, but gold it's dropped a little bit, but it is still the highest it's been in like the last 8 or 10 years. So again, if you have gold that you don't wear or don't care about, it's a good time to sell because you're going to get good values, especially if you're worried because of what the stock market's doing. But I just encourage you not to look at it. Don't get scared and sell, because when you do that, Berkshire Hathaway is going to laugh at you and then buy it up, and then they're going to make money and you're going to lose it. So don't do that.
Yeah.
I haven't sold this yet, but I'll show you one more thing. This came in as a consignment piece. We have our Dukes of Hazzard trash can, and it's featuring. You essentially have the Confederate flag as a backdrop. You have all the not all, but several of the main characters, and the quintessential.
The General Lee.
The General Lee here, orange car with the number 10 in mid-flight.
No, number one. The number one.
Or number one. Sorry, I'm looking at it through my in reverse
camera.
In the camera, yeah. But it's a remake. This is not from that original time.
It's not?
And it isn't. I mean, you can see like the metal it's not rusted. It's never been used, so it will sell well because it's unused. But this was probably. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was original. Was that a 1980s? Or was it 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, so maybe it's possible this is. I haven't actually even done the research
hog on there.
Good
them Dukes.
But that's fun. I love getting in kind of interesting stuff that I can sort of relate to because it was in the era of when I was a kid. So that's fun. But I did make a new connection, rather through word of mouth, with someone else that I'm currently selling for. I was connected with another family and went out yesterday and collected a large number of things to sell on their behalf, and I will be going back multiple times over the next few weeks. But one thing I just wanted to show, I don't think I'll be able to sell it, or if I do, it will have to be privately or locally. I'm going to back up just to show it, but what I'm going to be holding is a samurai sword, and the scabbard and the handle are entirely composed of carved figures out of ivory. So I'm going to back up and show this.
Can't sell that.
So here we are. The blade, as you can see, is rusted. It's old. It's still sharp. The handle, and I'll put it up closer. You can see that I have to turn it the other direction, but there are carved figures of people holding things all the way around. So this is composed of brass, then the steel of the metal, of the blade itself. And then the rest of it is carved ivory. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 separate panels that are oval in shape and have been glued sort of together with these rings. It's a really, really cool historical piece. But as you mentioned, the problem is that it's illegal to sell ivory unless you have a piece that has been verified that it was produced prior to around the turn of the century, and you have provenance, like you can prove that it was not harvested illegally, which I'm not going to be able to do. Now, I will say that the other ones like this that are out there, it's pretty well known that this was produced in around the late 1800s, like around 1880s to 1890s.
After the Meiji Restoration.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, because what happened was in 1868, the United States went in and
History
said,
teacher here.
open your doors to us, and they banned the new government banned the samurai, so that they wouldn't allow them to. If you guys saw the movie, it was The Last Samurai. They made them cut their top knots, and it was a big deal because samurai culture had run Japan for about 800 years.
Right.
So the fact that was produced post the Meiji Restoration in 1868 is pretty interesting.
I think that it was made. I don't think that it's made as a usable sword. I think it's more ceremonial, and I also believe it was likely produced as an intentional export. So probably an export to Europe or the United States, because there was, as you know, with like the Chinoiserie and all that stuff, there were revival periods where people were very interested in Chinese or Japanese culture and their artwork and various stuff, and they realized that. And they said, hey, like, we're missing an opportunity. We need to start producing a lot of stuff for these people in these other countries that are interested in the things that we have. So I think that's what it was for. I don't know how it got into the hands of this family, but much like a lot of things like this, it's just been sitting in a closet or in a box for decades. Because what do you do with it other than just have it set out for display? And I don't think that they did. So this came in. I'm going to have to go back and tell them, unless I can find a private buyer, this is not going to qualify as something I can sell for you online because, law prevents it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very cool piece.
I would buy that. I can't buy it because it's ivory and I don't want to break international law, but
of course.
I love it's not a Honshu. Honshu would be the most famous of all the samurai swords. There were different makers like anything else, and the samurai sword they're just incredible. They were as tools, but as weapons, obviously, but also as art pieces. There's a lot to them. So, all right. Well, listen, Matt, I thought we were going to do about a half an hour today. We've almost gone an hour, so that's typical of us. But this has been my favorite show I think we've ever done. Every little piece of this was historical, and I loved it. So, anyway,
cool
remember,
stuff.
people, we need you to tell your friends about us. We want to continue to grow. We really appreciate your comments and everything you say. Your concern for Matt's health is always appreciated. And that's what's really important here. But remember to follow, like, and subscribe. We got a lot of followers, a lot of likers now, and people that are hitting that click subscribe button. We appreciate that. We look forward to coming back with a brand new show next week. We both have some spring breaks coming up, but we're still going to do a show that will pop up during spring break. So if you're going on spring break with your family, have a great time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Anything left to say, Matt?
Just we're all cousins. We're all in this together. So don't be too afraid. We're going to get through it.
Amen to that. All right, people. Talk soon.